All right, we're live in the pits of Metal Motor Chaos. This yours Dave. I got my special guest, Intruder. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
How are you?
I'm good, man. You guys want to introduce all yourselves out there?
Sure. I'm Gregg guitar.
The rhythm section's waiting for each other. All right, I'm John Peroni, drums.
Todd Nelson, bass.
And once again,
OG Todd.
And once again, Gregg Messick, guitar.
So now
Once again.
So the band was formed in 1984 originally as Transgressor.
That's correct.
Now, what year did you change the name to Intruder?
We changed our name right before we were in the studio recording what was going to be Live to Die, and we were still Transgressor at that time. And there was another band called Transgressor, and we were getting a lot of people thought we were like a black metal band, and we, not that I had anything against any bands that were into that or whatever at the time, but we weren't that, so we wanted to make sure that we differentiated ourselves. And then so right before they put the album out on Ironworks is when we changed our name to Intruder.
So how'd you come up with the name Intruder?
We actually don't remember, so we just tell everybody we named it after the sex toy.
All right.
Batteries were included.
I mean, honestly, it's funny. Greg wasn't in the band at the time because obviously we were a four-piece when we did the Live to Die album. But Arthur and I, we're kind of like the oldest OG members of the band, and we've talked about it numerous times, and nobody can remember how we came up with the name. So that's pretty lame, but that's how it is.
Wasn't it some girl that one of you guys were dating at the time?
That would be like 9 million girls, so...
Okay. All right.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah. So anyway, so we changed our name. Real quick, funny story was, so we had did the deal with Ironworks after we sent him a demo, which had it didn't have Todd on the demo. It had another bass player that we had at the time called Gary Todd, really good bass player, but we just wasn't kind of fitting in where we were going at the time. And we had sent it, so we sent that tape in. He signed us to a deal. It took us about a year to record Live to Die because we were doing it like at 3 in the morning and 1 in the morning, and we were just doing it when we had, when the studio was not doing anything. And we sent the tape in, and when we finally got done a year later, we sent it into Ironworks under the name Intruder. The guy had no idea who the hell we were. And I had talked to him since then, and he was like, yeah, I got this tape from Intruder, and he goes like, I don't know any Intruder, I don't know why I got this tape, but he goes, man, it's blowing me away, I don't know what's happening. And then he realized that it was Transgressor, so it was pretty funny, because at first he was like, I have no idea who this band is or why they sent me a tape. But the rest is history.
So now, this year, 2020, you guys reformed for the 30th anniversary of a higher form of killing, right?
Correct.
Yep.
We picked a good year, didn't we?
Yeah.
That were a good time, anyway.
Yeah, at least that was the plan.
Yeah.
Okay. A good year to stay away from each other and can't do shit.
Yeah, exactly. We've been rehearsing for quite a long time, though. We've been rehearsing since last year. It just, timing was just awful, man, because we're ready. I mean, we're sounding, in my opinion, I guess the guys back me up, but I think we're sounding as good as we did, maybe even better than we did back in the day.
I would have I would have to say we're sounding better because there's not alcohol involved or women at this point. You know what I mean?
True.
We've all settled down and kind of fucking downshifted a little bit, and you know.
Yeah.
The normal shit.
Yeah. Not to say that we were, let's just say we were pretty amazing back then too. So just throwing that out.
Older and a little bit wiser.
Yeah. Definitely older.
Yeah.
So now the Legions of Metal Festival in Chicago is moved to September, correct?
Yeah. They decided, obviously the timing was bad for them as well. So it'll be Labor Day weekend in September. Hopefully.
Now you guys will be performing the whole A Higher Form of Killing album in its entirety at that show, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, we can't wait to do it, man. I mean, we've been rehearsing this thing for so long. It's yeah, we're ready.
It's really fun too, just to get back with the guys and rekindle the old magic that was there. I mean, we really are playing better than we ever have, in my opinion.
Well, and also, I think what's really cool, especially for the fans, is it's the original metalblade lineup now that Todd has came out from witness protection and is now back in the band. So.
And then you guys have plans to go to Germany and do the whole album over there too, right?
Yeah.
Well, as far as I know, that's probably been canceled. I know that HOA has not officially announced it yet, but Germany has announced that all festivals, etc., will be canceled until September 1st. So, that being in July, I doubt that it's going to happen.
Plus, I think a lot of people would fucking be scared after the fact anyway. People are scared of this shit. And
yeah, I mean,
put the show on and then fucking half the people show up that normally would just out of fear.
Yeah, and I get it, man, because I was talking to somebody today about that, and I'm like, I'm not ready to jump into concerts in the next couple months. I would be too worried about getting something at that.
I'd be afraid to get on a plane for 7 hours and be locked up.
Yeah, that too.
With everybody that's on that plane, that's a really small environment, and that's a lot of people on a plane like that.
Yeah, I had talked to Jurgen. He's one of the two promoters for the Headbangers Open Air, and I asked him how many people are normally at that festival, and he said between 3,000 and 4,000. But he also said that Germany is going to allow 1,000 people or less to be able to do shows, which I find kind of strange. I mean, 1,000 people who are all on top of each other, somebody's going to get sick. I'm kind of thinking that maybe that's a way to open up metal clubs, but we had a really good tour set up with Indestructible Noise Command. We had 7 or 8 shows, 5 or 6 in Germany. We had a show in Belgium, and we had a show in Prague, Czechoslovakia. So we're really kind of bummed that it's not happening.
Well, hopefully the Chicago show will go without any problems in September.
Yeah, I mean, we're planning on doing that. We've got a show here in Thrashville in June, but I honestly don't think that will happen probably. I mean, they haven't canceled it at the venue yet, but going back to what Gregg said, I mean, that's only 7 weeks from now, and I don't know how many people would feel comfortable coming out to a show with a big crowd, and to be honest, our crowd skews a little older, and they have more to worry about,
Yeah, I was just talking to my wife earlier today. I'm like, what are people going to start going to shows when the world opens up? They're going to have face masks on at the shows headbanging?
That's a good question. Including us when we're playing, I don't know. So, I don't know.
That would be fucking funny as shit, though. That would be funny.
And uncomfortable.
See them in the pit, and getting their nose bloody, coming through their fucking mask. It'd be funny as shit.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen in June. If not, then we'll obviously reschedule that show because we definitely will play one here in Thrashville. We also have a show. It wasn't really announced, but it's on the books for Atlanta in October, and that's still technically on as well.
So now, after these gigs, you guys plan on sticking together as a band, or are you going to split up again and then go on hiatus again?
Sorry, I couldn't. What did you say?
I said, after you do these gigs, are you guys planning on going on a hiatus again, or are you going to stay together?
No, we're all talking about writing a new album. Believe it or not.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
We figured 29 years is probably long enough, so let's do an album.
Right on.
I mean, the last album was 1991, so.
I think it's time for some new stuff.
Yeah.
I think the fans have waited long enough.
Yeah, I mean, when we finally got back and we were going to do the reunion, and the Facebook page was taken off. Other than when you guys going to do shows, the next big question was where's the new stuff. So we'll see. I mean, that's the plan. If HOA doesn't happen this year, then we'll do it next year.
Now, do you guys have any new material written as of yet?
We got a ton of riffs. I mean, Arthur's got a ton of stuff. I've got some stuff. I mean, it's just a matter. We were just at this point right now. We were just rehearsing to do these shows that we had upcoming.
Yeah. The plan was to focus on getting as good as we can be live, and then once the shows were over, then we could focus on writing. But obviously, I don't think much for the HOAs is going to happen. So, yeah, they got a bunch of riffs, just some good stuff. I've got a bunch of, I wrote 90% of the lyrics of all the stuff. So, I've got a lot of little things going on that I've been jotting down and things like that. It's interesting after, what is it? Is it 29 years? You guys help me out with the math. 1991 to 2020. Is that 28 or 29? I don't know. I'm terrible at math.
It's in there somewhere.
Yeah. So after that many years, it'll be interesting to see what we come up with, because we've had discussions about writing new stuff and what style, because every album that we did was really a different style. So, Arthur was talking about when he was writing some riffs, like, hey, we should have a little bit of everything on the album because there's fans of Live or Die, which is obviously more speed metal, power metal, and then you've got Higher Form of Killing, which is total thrash metal. And then you've got Psycho Savant, which is really progressive metal. I mean, we like to look back at that and say, hey, there wasn't a whole lot of progressive metal bands back in the day, and that album was very progressive. So, we got a lot of different styles.
The times have changed too. So, we were all our lyrics were always very socially aware,
right?
And it's tons of new subject matter now.
Like arthritis, my hand hurts.
Yeah.
Dementia.
I've got hip inflation.
Who are you?
Yeah. Why do I have to go to work?
Why do I have to get up and pee 4 times a night?
Dementia. Who are you? Yeah. We got some good titles to roll around.
Yeah, we were going to use Who Are You, but the Who already did it.
So you're gonna take elements from all three of your albums and kind of mix it together for the new album.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what we were talking about, or maybe even having, okay, one song is kind of like a little Live to Die era, and maybe another song's a little thrashy. Just try to kind of mix it up a little bit and just make everybody happy, which is impossible to do, but you try. And I don't even know what people are expecting after 29 years. It's kind of tough on a band if you haven't written anything in 29 years. Obviously, people are going to want to be blown away. And so, no pressure, right, Gregg?
Yeah. and we want to be blown away too.
Yeah, right.
But it's just one of those things. It's been a long time, but we still, it's still the core of the band. So
correct. Yeah,
I don't foresee it being a problem with us being able to write a new record for sure.
Yeah, I think once we get back in the groove of it, and because even with us rehearsing, as we've been rehearsing a lot for the live shows, man, we're all falling back into, it just feels natural.
It's definitely a lot of fun,
Yeah, we're having more fun now than we ever have, honestly.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I meant playing the band. I'm not talking about our side escapades.
Yeah. I think we had a little bit more fun back then, but you know what I'm saying. The wife is in the other room. I'll incriminate myself.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, all four of my ex-wives are gone, so I can incriminate myself.
They're buried out back.
That's right. I'm going to write a song about it.
Here it goes.
Yeah.
I think that whatever we come up with, I think with all five original members back together, you can be rest assured that it will be Intruder.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
For good or bad, it will be the five of us, and
yeah, and now that we're all almost 100 years old, they ought to be happy we're doing something.
Well, the true fans will get it.
Yeah.
We're going for the Guinness Book of Records here, bud.
That's correct. How long? The longest time in between albums. I like that.
Yeah, we're going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, our next tour is going to be sponsored by Geritol and Depends.
Yeah.
Man, I hope so, man, because I can't afford them.
And then after this record, hopefully it won't be a disappearing act.
Well, I think the band Violence is pretty much in the same boat as you guys right now. After all the years, they haven't put out any new material. They got to put out the EP they're gonna work on.
Yeah, didn't they just sign to a label?
Yeah.
Did they sign back to Metalblade?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was an interesting move.
I think it's cool. That
but I guess it makes sense. I mean, Metalblade is obviously still, when you think Metalblade, you think old school metal. Even though they've had a lot of newer bands, you think of Metalblade, you still think of, the classic metal bands from back in the day that were on the label.
Then you got Combat Records back out there with David Ellison.
Right. Have they signed anybody yet?
They got a few bands on there.
Okay, cool.
I think he lives here locally, and
it's interesting because, I was thinking to myself, like, well, if we do something, would you want a label to put it out? I mean, this day and age, you don't really need a label, but they still have their pluses.
For the good old boy network.
Yeah, it's kind of it's interesting compared to back in the day. Back in the day, you had to have a label, or you would have never gotten to magazines and things like that. But obviously times have changed. So I thought it was interesting that they signed with Metalblade, because I thought, well, why didn't they just put it out themselves? I mean, everybody knows who buys it. You have the internet. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they decided to go with metalblade.
I guess the singer's cancer-free now?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So now, after being on record labels, what do you guys think are the pros and cons in the music business?
Pros and cons of the music business?
Yep.
You mean now or back then?
Both.
Both. Oh Lord. We don't have enough time for back then, but yeah, I mean, I'll just say for me, it's so easy now to record an album. Honestly, if you got a laptop, you can record an album. And with the internet, Bandcamp, and all these other websites that you can have your music put out there and promoted, I mean, it's a tough call. It's like you don't really need a label these days. But then again, labels still have the in. They can get you into tours and things of that you might not be able to do on your own. So it's kind of, I don't know. What do the rest of you guys think about that?
I mean, I don't know so much as
Gregg,
that's necessary. I don't know if it's so much as a necessary evil anymore.
Gregg.
I'm here. Hang on.
You hear me, Dave?
Yep.
Maybe they dropped off.
I can hear you, John, and I can hear Gregg.
You got me?
I can hear all three of you guys.
I don't hear Gregg at all.
Can you hear me, Dave?
Yep, I hear you fine, Gregg.
I think
I hear you, Todd, but I don't hear Gregg.
About the music business. Today, man. I mean,
great technology.
I don't know if it's such a necessary evil these days. With the exception of what John said, it's being like the good old.
So Todd, what do you think about labels these days?
And the good old boy network, and them being able to get you where, like John was saying, being able to get you where you want to go faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you definitely make a whole lot more money these days without a label, without sharing anything. You know what I mean?
I'm not hearing anybody at this point. I'm gonna jump off and get back in.
All right. Yeah, Gregg, can y'all hear me?
Absolutely. I can now.
Okay.
But I don't hear Gregg.
Yeah, Gregg's. I heard Gregg. He just finished talking. I think. I like the way things are now. With like John said, you can record an album at home. You can get it out to people. You don't necessarily need a label. Yeah, there are things that a label can help you with as far as tours and just other connections and things like that most people probably wouldn't be able to do on their own.
All five of us got studios, home studios. You know what I mean? All five of us have the means to record.
Yeah.
That wasn't there 30 years ago. It wasn't there.
Yeah. Hey guys, sorry I jumped back in. I can hear you now, Gregg.
Good deal.
Okay. Yeah, if I want to sit at home and they want to record songs, they can email me tracks and I can record my parts on them and send them back.
Right. That's the good part of it, right? Like I said, bands can do their own thing. Back in the day, when we were signed to metalblade, you had to get on a label. You could never get into magazines. You could, they had all the power. It's definitely not that way these days, though. They still probably could, have a way to get you in with maybe some promoters and things like that. So, we don't have any plans of signing anybody. We plan on putting out the album ourselves. So, unless somebody wants to give us $1 million deal, hey,
So John, what's your music background, John? What age did you begin playing the drums?
I started playing drums at 6 years old. I was watching the Monkees on TV, and I saw Mickey Dolenz play drums, and I told my mom that's what I want to do. And she looked at me like, oh shit, now it's another musician in the family, damn it. And because she had divorced my father, who was a professional musician. So she got her boyfriend to buy me a snare drum, so I had a snare drum, which I wish I would have kept, probably worth $1 zillion right now. It's probably a Ludwig Black Beauty or something that she gave me. But I've been playing since I was 6, kind of off and on. I mean, I was in the Army for 3 years and this and that, but I knew what I wanted to do at 6 years old, which, you know, most people don't really know what they want to do at 6, but so yeah, that's what I've been doing since 6 years old. I always wanted to be a drummer.
So did you take any lessons, or were you self-taught?
I did take some lessons. I also took piano lessons. My father was a professional musician and a piano player, so he forced me to take piano lessons, which I did not want to do, obviously. It's like, dude, I want to play drums, man. Get off my back. So I took some lessons, but I would say I took about 2 or 3 years of lessons, and then the rest of it is just me doing my thing.
So what drummers are your
Gregg,
biggest?
what about you, man?
What drummers are your biggest influences, John?
Oh, for me, growing up, I would say obviously Bill Ward from Black Sabbath was a big influence on me, as the band was, obviously. That was a huge influence on me. Like I said, Mickey Dolenz, obviously, when I saw him, I was just like, wow, I got to do that. Not that he was the greatest drummer in the world, but it was just like, it just showed me how cool it was to, hey, be a drummer. You know? They still dig you. And also, I got to say, obviously, Rush. I mean, the Professor on the kit. Everybody wanted to play like that guy, and nobody could. So I would say those two, Bill Ward and obviously the Professor, were my 2 biggest influences. And again, Mickey Dolenz was an influence just because he's the one that turned me on to drumming. And I got to meet him 2 or 3 years ago and tell him that it's all his fault.
So what kind of drum kit are you playing out of now?
I've got a D-drum kit, but it's an acoustic kit. Gregg actually turned me on to D-drum through one of his guys when he was being endorsed by Dean. And it's a D-off kit. It's a really nice kit. They were really going for acoustic drums because their D-drum was pretty much well known for being electronic. And at the time, Dave Lombardo was endorsed by them and a few other drummers. So I got a really good pro deal through them, and I still got the kit, and I really love it.
That's awesome. All right, Gregg, go ahead. Gregg, what's your history on the guitar?
Okay, well, I've always loved music, you know what I mean? I always did. Always felt it, you know what I mean? When a guy would play a lead, if it was emotional, I always felt it, and I always make my hair stand up on end, you know. And so it's weird. I had a single shotgun, 20 gauge shotgun, that I went in and I begged my mother to let me trade it for a guitar that was fucking completely unplayable. But I didn't know at the time, you know what I mean? I didn't know at like 12, 13 years old
Right.
what was a good guitar and what wasn't. I didn't know. So I got this guitar, and it was a K guitar. So I'm sure everybody's heard of those fucking things. And the action was so far off the fretboard, but I didn't know. But it was hard to push down on and try to fret and play. So I got discouraged. There for a little while. And then a friend of my mom's come along. I was about 14. Seeing my desire to want to start, to play guitar, and bought me a guitar, a little $200 Les Paul copy. It was an Airy Pro 2 copy. and I've dabbled with it a little bit, you know what I mean, and fucked with it a little bit, but it stayed in the closet more than anything. But this one guy came along. And it was a live recording of the King Biscuit Flower Hour, and it was Randy Rhoads. That guy came along, and I heard him play on that particular, which I'd heard him play on the records, but on this particular recording, the live thing, Randy was fucking on fire, and I just thought to myself, man, if I can feel the music like that, maybe I can play. Maybe I really can play and just give it a shot. So what happened was I started playing. I had a couple of friends of mine that were already playing, that were fucking way ahead of me, and it became like a drug to me. It's like once I started seeing that I could learn, I could really actually start learning how to play, then it became like a drug, and I was just obsessed with it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the first song I ever learned from start to finish was Mr. Crowley. Leads and all. It took me 6 months to do it, but I learned it, and I spent 8-10 hours a day on it. And I just remember my mom would come into my bedroom and look me up and down and go, "Boy, get a job." You know what I mean? Because she just didn't get it. I mean, she come from that era where they were more practical. You went to high school, you graduated, you started having fucking kids, and you moved on with your life. You didn't have time for dreams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I started getting really serious about it, and just like I say, I started taking some lessons from a buddy of mine, but I didn't take a whole lot. I really learned how to play because when I joined this band, I'd only been playing for 3 years. So that was a real jump to me. I mean, it was really a Cinderella story, if you will. I mean, I really learned how to play with these guys. You know what I mean? Really perfected my craft, and because this was very, very high energy stuff. Compared to what I was used to playing. I was coming from Dokken and Quiet Riot and Randy Rhoads and Yngwie Malmsteen and Paul Gilbert and Gary Moore, Ken Levy, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this was totally different and totally out of my wheelhouse. And I remember the first thrash record that I ever heard. I was with Todd in Todd's car, and he put on Anthrax, Among the Living. I'll never forget to this day. Totally changed my life. And then because I've always kind of been an aggressive guy anyway, but when I was able to start playing aggressive music, man, it was almost like it was, there was an itch being scratched, that I never thought I could scratch before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's how it all started for me. It was Randy Rhoads was the first guy, and then, learning Dio and, robbing from this guy, because everybody steals licks. Everybody does. Especially when you're starting out, But yeah, man, that's how it all begun for me. And like I said, I probably didn't even deserve to be in this band when I first joined this band. I wasn't nowhere near good enough, really. But these guys worked with me. They hammered on me a lot, but that's what I needed. That's what I needed. And I rose to the occasion, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
So how many Randy Rhoads guitars you own now?
I've got one.
Just the white one?
I've got one. Just the white one. I've had that thing since 1989. That was the first Jackson that was ever sold here in the city of Nashville. I bought it.
Now is that your go-to guitar?
No, my go-to. I've got a pair of custom-made MLs, Deans.
What?
Yeah, I got a pair of those. They play very, very similar, and that's what I was looking for. I can't ever really switch play a Strat and then switch over and play a V. It throws me off too bad, so I have to find guitars that that just fit me and I'm comfortable in my hand. Say one goes down, I can grab the other one. I feel no difference, And that's what they were able to do for me at Dean is to definitely put them, in very close proximity of each other for sure.
So what kind of rack you playing out of?
What kind of what?
What kind of rack you playing out of?
Well, I've switched over to this atomic amplifier pedal, but I have a Axe Effects, a Fractal Axe Effects as well, and I've got a whole rack of shit sitting here to the left of me. It's got a Mesa Boogie amp in it, all kinds of outboard gear that I probably should get rid of, but I can't seem to fucking purge myself of nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got fucking shit sitting in my studio right here that I can definitely, get rid of and do away with. But I look at it like it's not eating nothing, so fuck it, let it sit there. I mean, that's just me. But I mean, yeah, we are running in-ears now, and we're using powered monitors, so you can definitely use the cabinet IRs and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's the route we're going, because I mean, if you're going to travel as a musician, it's got to be as light as possible. You can't. It's not feasible to carry amps overseas or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's just not. I mean, it would cost us a fortune. So technology has afforded us to be able to still have a really good, really great guitar sound, even though it's not a real amp. If you were in a room and I A-beat it, you didn't know. If you looked at them both and then you went out of the room and I A-beat it, you wouldn't know which was which.
Yeah.
Technology's come a long fucking way.
Oh yeah. All right, Todd. How about you? What's your history on the bass?
Oh wow. I actually started playing guitar and drums simultaneously when I was about 13 years old. And I was playing drums in like band at school. And I was in the marching band, I played in concert band and stuff like that. And a friend of mine whose dad was really big into Jimi Hendrix and lived in my apartment building, my friend played drums and his dad played guitar, and they needed a bass player. And everybody still there?
Yep. I am.
Okay, just heard a weird noise. But anyway, long story short, I couldn't afford a bass. They needed a bass player, and so my friend's dad bought a bass for his son that he let me use. So he kind of taught me and his son kind of how to play like in a band setting, and it was just the three of us. It was like a 3-piece, and at that point I started doing some singing as well, and his dad sang, and we used to do a lot of old Jimi Hendrix stuff and 60s like psychedelic rock and stuff like that. We did some 70s stuff like Thin Lizzy and stuff like that. And I didn't own my own first proper bass until I moved back to Nashville, and I came back in August of 1981. And Nashville's my hometown, but I hadn't lived here since I was 6 years old at that point. And, I graduated from high school and started meeting some local kids that played, and, got my first bass in a pawn shop here in Nashville. And, my main two influences were, Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath and Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. And I met these guys. They were playing, and they played. They were together in a band, and then I played in another band. And we kind of knew of each other, but we didn't really know each other. and when they got their record deal with Ironworks Records and needed a bass player, they looked me up.
Yeah, I showed up in Todd's apartment and waited out for him.
Yeah, I didn't have a phone or anything, and I guess they found out where I lived from some mutual friend. And I came home from work, and there's this guy sitting on the hood of a car in a black leather jacket, and I'm like, I don't owe anybody any money, you know. You know, and I was like, I had to get closer to see who it was, and then when I I had met John a couple of times before through a mutual friend, and they asked me to come and audition, and so I think I auditioned like 3 or 4 times, and finally on New Year's Eve, I think it was New Year's Eve, 88 into 87, they told me I auditioned for like the 4th time on New Year's Eve, and it was like, okay, you're in the band. And because I remember me and Arthur went to a mutual friend's New Year's Eve party, David Loudon, and that was the night the first time I ever met Gregg.
The first time I ever met Arthur was at this mutual friend's house. David Loudon.
Yeah, so, this one guy, David Loudon, I mean, he was... I met John through David Loudon about 2 years earlier. I guess David brought Arthur to John.
Yeah, to give you context, Dave, the roots of the band were myself, David Loudon, who Todd just mentioned, who played guitar and sang. And then we had a bass player called David Hackley, really good bass player, funny guy, great guy.
He was David's boss.
He passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. But it was us 3 playing, and then David Loudon decided that he didn't want to play guitar anymore. He wanted to be a front man, and he brings in Arthur. Well, that just, Arthur came in, and he could nail, speaking of Randy Rhoads, he could nail that stuff like it was nothing. And I remember thinking like, oh shit, the game just got upped. So we played as a 4-piece for a while, and then David got very angry at us because we touched his shit and left. And we went through a bunch of different singers and this and that, but once Todd got in the band, that was a solid lineup. And then after Live to Die, when we started to go into more of a thrash sound, we knew we wanted another guitar player, so that's when we started looking for an additional guitar player.
Man, I can tell you, but I'm not going to. The parties that we had at that house, at David Loudon's house, oh my God, they were legendary.
Yeah, and the ones at my house weren't too bad either.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what we rehearse. We always rehearse at my house. So.
David lived in a single wide trailer, and I think it was a 1-bedroom trailer.
Yeah,
and there was fucking 60 people in that motherfucker, all out in the yard, all throughout the fucking trailer. I mean, some of the best times of my life, for sure. David's still really good friends with us. He lives in Atlanta. He's still very good friends with all of us.
So Arthur just texted me and said he doesn't have Facebook, so there you go. He used to. He still has an account, right?
I don't know. He may have deleted it.
I see his face up there.
He may have deleted it all. I don't know.
No, it's still there because he's in there as a...
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, got the Rex Arthur. The Rex Arthur Vinnet account is still up, yeah.
Yeah, he's there. I don't know. Anyway, we will continue without him.
So you guys Look for a second guitar player. You got Gregg, and you guys